Good afternoon. Welcome to C&T Collectibles IMC, and welcome to Friday Chart Show. Still haven't come up with a decent name for it, but that's okay. I think you'd get the point and know what we're up to here. Price is truth. So let's get into the price action of some of our favorite sports card collectibles, and we'll start it off with one of the hottest players, if not the hottest player in the sport of baseball. We've got baseball, we've got some basketball, football, and some Marvel at the end. I was excited to see that Card Ladder added some of those charts. I don't know when they did it, but I've been looking for a little while and happened to take another look, and there they were. So start off with Ronald Acuna. This is the bat down his true rookie card. Most people would consider it to be, and you can see that over the this goes back a couple of years here. It has bumped its head up against this line a few times here. So there's your resistance, and his start this year, it was off to a kind of a rough start. He was only hitting like 400 with 3 home runs, and so people rightly sold his card because they expect a little bit more, and now he's delivering. He's hitting about 470 with 7 home runs, and so that's what we expect out of Ronald Acuna. So near the top of the range here. Here's the important thing. At some point, he's not finishing the season batting 470 with 120 home runs. All right, he's banked a lot. He'll probably outdo his projections, have a great year. Who knows, MVP or anything like that. But will that news get sold if he runs into a streak where he starts hitting 270 for a while and a home run every once a week or something like that? Does this card get sold? So what you're waiting for here is here's your high water mark. Here's your low water mark. If it does come down here on that, then you buy it. He's a terrific player. He's got great long-term prospects. Otherwise, look for a breakout and a hold of that. If you get these false breakouts, and we're going to see some of those, then you come back very quickly to the bottom of whatever range you're in. So with Ronald Acuna, again, this has been an area, there's decent buying. I don't expect a huge pullback or anything like that unless something kind of out of the ordinary happens. But that as we've seen with Tatis, that can certainly happen. Anyways, Acuna, kind of the top of the range here. So if you're looking out a while, then fine. If you're patient and you're looking to make some shorter term money, then you might want to wait just a bit here. So we've got a few Acunas to go through here. Topps Chrome. This is the regular Chrome here, and this is putting in new highs here. So there's demand for his card. So you've got the top of the range. I looked at this a few weeks ago. Said, all right, probably a sell in here. Did come out just a little bit here, but there's enough demand to push it even higher. So again, you're getting close to the top of the range on this one here. So we'll see if it's able to bust out. Ranges are meant to be broken, so we'll see if it can indeed do that. But it does need to hold it if that's the case. But otherwise, there's some downside risk into this area at some point. Again, when the inevitable happens that he does cool off to an extent, maybe just cools off and becomes plays at an outstanding player level instead of an all-time great level. So Bowman Chrome first, bumping its head up against an area that has seen some selling in the past. You're seeing a little bit of selling happen again here. So again, the more times you bump your head up against something, the greater the chances of it breaking out. So the longer-term trend is up. You can see fake breakout back to the bottom of the range here. So there is room for it to keep going higher if he can keep producing at a reasonable level here. But right now your risk reward is not in your favor on the Bowman First Chrome. All right, the update, the one that a lot of people like. This is the PSA 9 breaking out to new highs. So as long as it holds this, then there is some decent room up to, who knows, maybe it could be $100 or something like that. So that would support a $300 PSA 10 to see that one break out as well. So again, the trend is up here, and it's bumping its head up against a few times and eventually builds up enough energy to push through. So let's hope it holds it. Otherwise, it comes back down to that $70, $80 level. All right. The PSA 10. Which one is this? The update. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it hasn't quite put in the highs yet. So the PSA 9 has. This one hasn't. You had your high rate in this area here, 270 or something like that, 230. So it's right in there. I don't think that's right. Yeah, 250 is what we had. So it matched this price a couple of times back in last fall here. So I could see a run back up to that number here, maybe some selling and a pullback, and that may coincide again with a little bit of regression in his otherworldly stats here. But again, the trend is up, and if you do get a shot at this thing in the 225 area, that's probably pretty reasonable. All right. This might be the last one we have. Chrome update. So again, the trend is up here, and you're right around the highs on this one. So it's bumping its head up against this one quite a few times here, so you could see some more profits. It's just a slow grind here. So again, longer term, certainly like this card. I think it was underappreciated for a while. That's a great picture. But right now is maybe not the time to do this. I mean, is there a hotter player in the league and his prices are starting to reflect that a little bit, and that's not the time to go whole hog on something. So, all right, here's a player that off to a slower start compared to Acuna. He's only hitting like 417 with 3 home runs. So people were looking for Vladdy to do good things this year, and he's absolutely exceeding those expectations, which is fantastic. So you have your uptrend, but that is broken. And what you're seeing now is some compression. If he can maintain a high level of play, no one's expecting 60 home runs and a 400 average. But if he's able to do just something this year, that's reasonable. What if he's a 290 guy with 35 home runs? It was like, geez, that's pretty great. So these compressions usually lead to some sort of breakout. So again, while you're in this, be patient. It could go down, it could go up. We don't know yet, but when that happens, then that is the direction of your next move here. So he's consolidating. People are just, I think, waiting to see. All right, is this for real? Now there were two players. There were 70 grade prospects in the 2019 rookie class, and Vlad was one of them. So the talent is certainly there to sustain this, and he's still 22, 23 years old. All right, the PSA 10, the no number. Right around its all-time highs here. So you had a quick move up to the top of the range, and there was no volume on that one. So, and again, when you get to the top, you go to the bottom at some point here. So we'll see what happens here. Here's your reward, and here's all of your risk. And so again, if he cools off, you could see a little pop while he's doing well here, and if he cools off down to here, but if he breaks out and holds it, then you could see much higher prices. And this card is not like the bat down Acuna, but it is relatively shorter printed compared to a lot of the other cards in the set. What I like is the PSA 9. So this is one that I've talked about plenty in the past. The PSA 9, when it was about that $25, $30 level, it's just buy them, because the PSA 10, should have bought PSA 10, I suppose. Well, PSA 10 was sitting around $60, $70, so that is outperformed. The PSA 9 has been a double, and PSA 10 has been a triple. So it's a higher grade card, should be, and all these came out dented, so it's a little bit harder to get that PSA 10. But I think there's room for the PSA 9 to catch up. But the PSA 10 doing just fine on its own. Bo Bichette, couple of bombs, couple of steals. I mean, he's as advertised. This is a terrific player. And if you're able to get them in that $60, $70 range, you had a quick chance to do it. It was a nice buy area here, so there's a lot of consolidation, a lot of buying in there. So that's kind of your support area here. But it's coming up to the top of its range, and this is a very low volume move. One sale brought it up to that area. So if it comes back down to $80, $90, probably a decent spot, because I believe this kid's the real deal. What you want to watch for, again, breakout and sustain that break. There's a false breakout, and it brought it back down into this range here. So if it busts out of here and it comes back in, watch out, because you're coming back down to this area most likely. But if it comes out, retest this successfully, then you're looking at much higher prices. Now I think he has to do this for a few years before he becomes a $250 card. But for now, there's enough interest in his cards to give you a chance to buy, or if you need to unload, plenty of buyers ready to take it off of your hands. Aaron Judge, when he's healthy, he's top 5, top 10 player in the league. There's no question about it. I mean, he doesn't even have to be like completely healthy. If he's 120 games healthy, I mean, he's an elite bat. So he's doing what he does right now. He's beasting. So, but he is struggling with this area right here. Call it, I don't even know what to call it. So, $90 here, $300 here, and the scale's kind of off, $150, $200, something like that. I don't know. So when it gets up to here, that is your sell. When it gets down to here, it looks like this is an interesting spot to buy. So if he's able to stay healthy, hit a few more bombs, great. If he gets down to this $60 area, then that is a strong buy on Aaron Judge. So, but again, it's really about health with him, and I think people are kind of tentative. He's only done that 1.5 times. He had a good rookie season. He had another season that was awesome, and he played 120 games. And there were a lot of partial seasons in there. So again, not a ton of interest in this card right here. There's a lot of low volume moves, but it is coming back to a spot that makes it starting to get somewhat interesting to take a shot on a player that, if he suddenly develops the skill to stay healthy, that could be a big deal. Rafi Devers, big move here. Just a couple of purchases really shot it up here. So yeah, if you're able to get in this $30, $40 range, amazing. So talking about Devers for a while, a lot of people have. And this is a little too much too fast, but if it comes into that $70 range, then that's probably a decent spot. Boston's off to a terrific start. They had a 9-game win streak that was broken by your future World Series champion Minnesota Twins, of course. But a little too much too fast here, so let it come back into this area. But Devers, again, really young player with a lot of great long-term prospects. A lot could happen, but they could be favorable things as well. And Eloy, I was gonna not look at him for a while, but someone decided to make this purchase for $80 on that PSA 10. So if you're looking to unload Eloy, this is and if there's more people out there that want to pay $80, kind of a gift for you, I suppose. I don't know that there's a catalyst to punch it back up to $100 until he comes back. But 24 years old, he'll come back when he's 25, and if there's anybody that can make up a lot of ground in a hurry, it's probably Eloy. So I am a long-term, or at least an intermediate-term believer in Eloy. Long-term is a little bit more murky, missing most of last season, 2 years last season, and this season. But again, the downtrend has at least been broken for now, at least. But probably more of a sell as you see it come back into this area. And again, this is kind of our target zone here where we saw a lot of buying, and so you start to see that. But I think that's a little too much, too quickly. And Francisco Lindor, not a lot of buying in this card. This is a guy that's just stay healthy for a few more years. I mean, he's on as good a Hall of Fame track as almost anybody. So a lot of sideways action here, and you can see that the volume is thinning out. It just takes one sale or one purchase to get from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, and that's $300 to $400. But for now, you are at the bottom of that range. If you are looking for a Lindor, the PSA 9 PSA 10 ratio, not super favorable either way. But I think if you're able to get it in that $200, $250 range, something in here, then that would be a very comfortable buy. So right up here, there's just, again, this movement is a little bit skittish for my blood here. But if it does fall out of this range, then you're probably looking at something in here. And I think there's a lot more solid support in there. There's enough people that have been buying. And Lou Bob, don't cry for me. All right, sideways action and breaking down. So he just hasn't done anything yet. So he's got to prove it. He's young. He's got all the talent, but do something, So not fair to ask that of a 22-year-old or something like that. But for players that are young that haven't really quite done it yet, it probably should be a $40 or $50 card. So I think that's maybe where it's headed here. So if you look at 155 on the high, 100 on the low, you come up with a downward move of about $50. So if that's a $50 card, now that's not a bad price. Look at players that are in that range. So mentioned 2 70 grade prospects in the 2019 rookie class, the 20 over the last couple of years, two. One came up in 2019, another came in 2020, and that was Gavin Lux. You can get his. We'll talk about him in a minute. I think that's a great setup. Alex Verdugo, player I've talked about for a while, he's doing really, really well. Those cards are moving nicely. So Kyle Tucker. So those are some names that we've talked about here that I think he could come. There's no reason for him not to be priced similar to those guys. Is what I'm saying here. So, hey, Gavin Lux. All right. It's almost like I planned this. All right, top of the range. Spoke on a couple weeks ago, said top of the range. Like him, but a little too quick, and probably a great spot to take some profits. And it came back down to the $40 area. Full disclosure, I bought a $40 one yesterday. I like Gavin Lux, 70 grade prospects. Don't forget how to hit. So I think this is a very interesting spot for Gavin Lux. And we'll see if we can get some buyers to come in there. I'm one of them. So Juan Soto, $300 area is kind of support. If it leaks below that a little bit, I think you see plenty of people step in. Off to a slower start this year, but we know what he's going to do. He's going to be awesome. So, but the trend is down for now, and that's the case until it isn't. So if he keeps slumping, then it could go lower, and anything down in here is a buy, absent some sort of devastating injury. Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, devastating injury. So Stefania Bell says this could be a little bit more than they're letting on here, and may lead to some surgery. So again, we had our range here, and here's your sells, here's your buys, and when you fall below that, that's a little bit longer term, a little bit more serious sell signal that we identified a few weeks ago. And so you're compressing. Prices are compressing though. So does lead to reversal again if it gets into this 150, 160 area. Probably a pretty strong buy for one of the youngest players in the league that could probably recover from this. So, but in the meantime, those prices are trending lower. So you wait for it to kind of bust out a little bit and hold before you get if you're looking for their shorter term money before you buy. Again, it makes it down to this area. Just buy it and close your eyes and hang on. So the refractors, interest in his refractor. So the higher end stuff is kind of getting a little bit of its demand back. But again, here's your sell. Was that $1,000? High price $1,500. So its current price right now $900. So that's not insignificant. That's a big deal. So again, if you're kind of in that shorter term mode here, then you got to pay attention to this stuff here. I'm here to help. So bottom of the range, and interesting spot to buy. Now, if it falls out of this range, then again, you're coming back down to this area, which is $300-$400, another 50% decline, not insignificant. So be very attentive to these levels. All right. Oh, basketball. Bradley Beal. Here's your scoring leader right now for the year. On a per game basis, but I think like 7 or something like that overall anyway. So here's your fake break, bottom of the range, fake break, bottom of the range, broke the range. Okay, so patience. When you break out these ranges, you do get some sort of retest usually, and you got that. So there's your hard sell, and now you're coming back down. So we'll see how this kind of plays out here. $800 to $1,200 is is your topping pattern here. So that's $400, and so subtract $400 from that, and now you're sitting around $400 for your target price, and that would bring it back into this range here. So we'll see if that happens. It's very thin down here, so someone could certainly buy it back up to 800, but unless you can scoop back up above 800, it's probably a leave it alone type deal here. Otherwise, the trend is down, and get around $400. Probably a little bit more interesting. I don't know his long-term prospects or something like this, so or anything like that. So school me on that if you want. This is a player that we talked about a while ago, KPJ, and I think I top tick that one or really close, so just leave it. And then we had this topping pattern revisit a little bit here. So 500, 700 is your range here. So a break of that would bring you down to about $300, and there's kind of where we're at here. So this is your buy zone. So one purchase brought it up to here. If it gets back down here, I suppose interesting. But again, is this a player you want long term? If you're looking for flipping purposes, this is where you buy it and you kind of sell it back up in here. So there's money to be made. As far as a long term, whatever is Hall of Fame track, whatever, I don't know how it works in basketball. I don't know anything about that. So this is just kind of your risk management for the shorter term. Luka, very interesting here. So top of the range, revisit it so you can kind of establish your trend here, and then you can draw a parallel line on this one, and you can see we're at the bottom of the range with a couple of touches. I think this is really interesting and a really positive development for Luka. Now, this is one of the better long-term prospects. He's still prospecting, but he's at a very favorable risk reward. And if you remember, of course you don't remember. No one watches my stuff, or no one did, at least in November. But I was pounding the table on Acuna. Said this is a really interesting spot to buy Ronald Acuna. For the PSA 10, I think the PSA 9 was sitting at $40, which is an even better price. But just buy Acuna, and so we're seeing the same thing here. So Luka, a couple touches at the bottom of the range. Acuna, a couple touches at the bottom of the range, and we know what happened with him. And so can Luka do the same thing? I think it's favorable to see what can happen if he does anything newsworthy, playoff wise or whatever in the near future. That could certainly happen. So Donovan Mitchell, fake break at the top of the range here and back into the bottom. So now you're set up between $400 and $500 here. So $500 is kind of a sell unless he can sneak back above this and hold it. If he sneaks above this and goes back in, then you will see $400 again, probably really, really quickly. So a slight upward trend here, but play your range 400, 500 until it breaks one way or another. And Colin Sexton, he's on a downward trend here. Fake break should bring it back down to, call it $100. And that's been a pretty decent spot to buy, and you're getting close to that one. So a couple of quarterbacks here. Joe Burrow near the top of his range. A lot of sideways action here. Fake break and to the bottom of the range. Took a while to get there, but here you are again, getting close to the top of the range here. I don't know what news comes out in the near future, but there's something interesting with a lot of these quarterbacks here. PSA 10, $710. PSA 9, $190. So sub $600 card, $570 card is what we're kind of pricing in here. So we'll see if that how that plays out. So but he is near the top of the range, so we'll see how that goes. If he remains range bound, one of the more interesting names here, $900 should be a $300 PSA 9, but we're at $170 here. So we've got this compression building up, and finally, at some point here, unless you break down, but the odds are more likely that this price is compressed and they just shoot right through. And you can see some pretty decent moves out of this card. I don't know about this anytime soon, but if you get up to $1,500, $1,600 in a hurry, or whatever that is, that's not surprising. I think there's a lot of interesting things about the PSA 9, so I just think technically this sets up really, really well. Nice bottom, and the PSA 9 I think is a good relative value in there. So Baker Mayfield back to his previous highs here, so you should see some selling take place. Starting to see that a little bit, so maybe it comes back to the bottom of the range and just hope that holds, because if it doesn't, then you're coming back down further, maybe a $200 card. So again, there has to be some sort of news flow or something to get him going here. But again, top of the range where there's been lots of transactions and resolved lower, and you're starting to see you're right at that spot again. So not favorable in the near term here. And the PSA 9, PSA 10 actually sets up no joy either way here. So Kyler Murray, trend is up, a lot of buying in here. Now it's starting to thin out a little bit. You're starting to see these volatile moves. So bottom of the range to the top of the range really quickly. Now back to the bottom of the range. So seems like a decent spot to buy him. So $500, $550 for the 10, $150 for the 9. So $450 for the 10, or should the 9 be $175 or something like that. So there's some $180. There is some upside to this, I think. As it stands right now, this has been a spot to buy, and buy again. If it breaks out below this, then you are coming back far lower to that $400 range, but as long as you were trending upwards, you stick with it. All right, a couple Marvel cards. I don't think charting is worth it on these things. 80 cents to $20. That's a heck of a return, man. But again, pretty low volume, but I see where not enough people are saying that there's interest in these cards and it's building up, and they're inexpensive on a relative basis, so I can see people just kind of starting to go that direction with comic books gaining some traction. Those cards, I used to have a lot of these. Maybe still do somewhere, but I was a big comic book fan back in the day. Tick, Ninja Turtles, and then moved into to Walking Dead, Teen Titans, a lot of that stuff there. So not the cartoony Go one, but the regular. So yeah, a lot of sideways action. Get to the top of the range on that one. But again, $20. I mean, it's not gonna take much for someone to say I'll pay $30 for that. So there's upside on these. Stan Lee, missed you, buddy. PSA 9, sideways action here. So as long as it holds this, otherwise, I mean, again, there's just so much thin volume on here. But you can see there's a lot of interest in this area here. So if you can get some of these cards. Looks like the interest is firming up at least. And then Wolverine, $5. Buy it, bub. There's Wolverine for you. So sideways action. All right. I appreciate your time. That's what I got for you today. Hope you got something out of this, and hope you get even more out of your weekend. Have a great one, and we'll talk to you later.